Welcome to the Acrylic Portrait Painting Challenge Masterclass, lesson number 8, bringing your portrait home. Hey, I hope you're doing well. This is where we finally get to bring the portrait to completion after putting in all the hard work of developing an excellent composition, an excellent layout, likeness, building up the value, the color, the texture, detail, nuances. And here we're going to put on just those few final nuances to really dial it in, bring it home so that you can sign this portrait, be proud of what you've created, hang it on your wall, show it to your friends and family, and inspire yourself to be able to continue in this portrait painting adventure and paint more portraits you can be proud of. Again, whether your goal is to paint portraits of your grandchildren to give as gifts, or you want to paint portraits on commission or enter them into art shows, this is where your skills have flourished during this whole process, and you're going to reap the rewards of your labor that you put in. Well, this is where we've left off in the portrait. It's getting very, very close to being done. We've got a lot of layers on here. We've got a lot of depth. We've got a lot of color and nuances and everything working together to really create a realistic image, and again, something that you can be proud of. I've seen so many fantastic portraits in the group, and I'm proud of your efforts. You've not given up even despite some challenges, and you've made some changes during the critiques and just really put in that effort to create a portrait that you can feel proud of. And again, I just want to give you high fives for that. Well, if you haven't taken the challenge, I know I say this every time during these lessons, but it's not too late because these videos are going to be up for quite a while and you can watch them at your own pace. So if you haven't taken the challenge, go ahead and do that at realisticacrylic.com/acrylic-portrait-painting-challenge. And of course, when you sign up, you get the welcome kit, which gives you everything you need to paint along with us. So go ahead and sign. It's free. You can do that below in the link in the description of the video or in the top comment. Love to have you take part. All right, well, I want to open up with a word of prayer, and we're going to dive in here. By the way, before we do that, I just want to let you know this is going to be part 1. Okay, so I'm splitting up lesson 8 into part 1 and part 2, just based on my recording schedule and just some family things that we're going through right now. This is the way I have to kind of split up the lesson. So I appreciate your patience if you're watching this as we're actually putting these videos out. I appreciate your patience in just, kind of hanging with me here as we get these lessons out here. And, we're kind of going through a slower process, but it allows you to really appreciate what you've accomplished. Okay, let's pray. Father, I come before you in Jesus' name, and I ask that you would bless this final lesson here. Help me to be able to teach this process with excellence. I pray that you would bless the students. I pray that you would encourage them to just stick with this, even if in bringing it home there's a couple of challenges to overcome. And I pray, Lord, that they would be able to really appreciate what they've accomplished in this whole process of painting a portrait, and that you would propel them into future endeavors, painting portraits of their family or commissions or for their own pleasure or for shows or whatever their goal is. I pray that, Lord, they could use their talent, their gift that you have allowed to flourish during this process just to expand and grow. Keep them all in good health. Bless us in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, well, we're going to dive in here and let's go ahead and begin with the eyes. I want to do some nuances on the eyes. All right, so let's take a 3/0 brush. We've got a 3/0 brush, and we're going to just mix a little bit of titanium white into some matte medium. Maybe just a bit of Indian yellow. And that'll just warm it up a little bit. And then what we want to do is go ahead and just add a little bit of a highlight to the sclera, and also the reflection on the eye. Now only add that to the left side because that's being illuminated. The other side should be darker. And then we're going to just add a little reflection, which we've already kind of isolated during the whole painting process. But we're just going to enhance these reflections on both of the eyes, just like that. So you want to make sure that paint's really fluid. Just kind of dab it in. Now if you don't have a 3/0 brush, don't worry about it. You can use a 10/0 brush, 1/0 brush, whatever is kind of small will work well. So don't worry whether it's a 3/0 brush or whatever. Just a nice detail brush. It's really more in how you use the brush than the actual brush that you're using. All right, so now let's do some nuances on her face. We will come back to the eyes, but I just want to use this color while it's on the brush. And I want to add a couple of nuances, like there's a highlight on her nose that we can capture. All right, so we're just bringing that out. Highlight on her lip, we can kind of enhance that a little bit, dab it, kind of blend it in. You can also do some highlights on her teeth on the left-hand side and just kind of bring them out a little bit. So maybe we'll zoom in so you can see that a little bit more on her teeth. Yeah, so just on the left-hand side, don't do every tooth. So the ones that are on the leftmost side, you want to do more like over the whole thing, because that whole tooth, the whole tooth is being illuminated. But as you get more towards the right side of the face, you want to end up doing just the sides. And then here we have the side, and then on these last two teeth, don't even put highlights on those last two. They should actually have more of a shadow color, and that'll give her mouth more of a three-dimensional aspect to it. Okay, so as we look at the rest of the face, we just kind of ask, okay, is there anywhere else where we can put some highlights? And you have to look at your reference photo and see what's called for. Maybe I could add a little highlight right here in her cheek if I just lightly graze it and then dab it with my finger to soften that up. Slight highlight on the cheek, dab it, and again, it's all about nuance, so you don't want to overdo this. And I think that'll help. Now I want to take a look at the paint brushes quick again. While I have this particular color, I want to make sure and see if this is something that I could use. So I'm just going to add this little bit of this lighter white color on the ferrule of the brush. I'm also going to add it to the whole brush handle on this left-hand side. So let's do that. And I'm just turning my head, actually. I don't know if you can see me. I'm turning my head, which helps me to get a better approach on this. All right, so, whoops, wrong one. There we go. And this will allow me to really get a nice smooth line. And I just flow it up with short little strokes from the bottom to the top. Add a little highlight right here. You'll add also add a highlight here, but we will have to go back over this brush with another color because it has more of a yellow color. But that's just going to cause those brushes to stand out a little bit more. And then we can add a little bit of a highlight right here. We really do need to go into the ferrules and add just a slight grayish tint. So let's go to our palette and take a bit of raw umber dark, mix it with this titanium white and a bit of matte medium, and that's going to create a nice warm gray color. And I'll show this to you on our white card. So let's just move over there quickly, and here we go on the white card right above. There it is. And so this is the color we have. It's kind of a nice warm gray. All right, we'll just kind of move back down, and we're going to get again those ferrules in there. Now I'm not sure if this color will work That color is a little bit strong. It's a little too bluish against the orange of the palette, and color is all relative, so we do need to warm it up with a little bit of burnt sienna. So let's do that. And maybe just a bit more ombre dark, and a little bit more burnt sienna. Now let's go ahead and try this, and I'm going to show it to you on our white card here. Alright, so here we have it on the white card, so you can see that. And then we'll go ahead and go back to this. Alright. So I think this color should get us pretty close now. At least as a base color to put down on that metal ferrule. And then we'll put it on the other side too. But it is interesting how color is so relative, because as you look at this on your palette, it does almost look kind of brown, doesn't it? If you can see that tint, or if we look at it again on the white card, you can see how that does look almost like a brownish tint, but against the orange color of the palette, that seasoned wood with the varnish on it, it just it looks more gray. So color is very relative. When you have one color next to a very warm color, it's going to look cool by comparison. It's going to look more bluish, more grayish. Alright, so that helps us with that area. Now I would like to go back up to the face right now, because we need to do a little bit of work on the face. So let's go up there. All right, and let's go ahead and do a little bit of work on her cheek. Now we could probably switch to a different brush here. Let's switch to a slightly larger round brush, and we'll take some titanium white, some pyrrole orange, which is going to make a nice pink color, and that color would be too pink for the cheek as it is. So I'm going to add maybe just a little bit of burnt sienna, slightly tone it down. But I could be wrong. It might actually need a little bit of naphthalene red. Okay, let's try this. Gives us a nice rich color. Here it is. This is what I'm mixing. Alright, burnt sienna, pyrrole orange, naphthalene red, titanium white. And then I'd like to show this to you on the white card. Here we go. All right, and we'll just begin doing a little bit of work on this. So let's add a glaze right over the cheek. Too strong. All right, we'll need to tone it down a little bit. Let's add some matte medium. Just make it a little more translucent. Okay, here it is on the white card, a little lighter now. Now let's go back, and we're just again adding this tone to her cheek, giving it a little more depth, a little more dimension. Kind of build a little form around here on the bottom as well to accentuate that smile. Add a little bit to the other side of her cheek too. Let's add a little bit of this shading right by her eye, because I just sense that it could work there. And you get a sense for what colors on your brush will work and where else you can employ them. So I can add some little bit of nuancing around her face and just build up the form a little bit more. I'm going to add just a bit of titanium white to this color and lighten it up. And with that, then we'll apply it right next to her nose. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Here we go. Just kind of blend that in. That's going to give us a little more depth on that nose, help it to stand out just a bit more. Now let's develop a little more shading on the gradient on the right side of her nose. And with that, we'll take a little bit of burnt sienna, add some more titanium white to it to make it just a bit more semi-opaque. And I want to show this to you as well on the white card. Let's just zoom out of this one a little bit so you can see this all on the white card. So here we have it on the white card. And then we're going to add a nuance right here, kind of merging those little shadows out. So we have the darkest shadows and we're blending into the mid-tone, and we're using very light brush pressure and dabbing it. We're also creating a little bit of shading here on this highlighted area of the nose. We'll add also some shading right up here to blend out of the eyebrow region. So for that, I need to add a little bit of burnt sienna. So I will do that. Add some burnt sienna, matte medium to make it fluid. Spray the palette a little bit just to keep everything fluid. Okay, a little bit more titanium white. And then a touch of alizarin crimson, which shifts it a bit more to the reddish side without making it too vibrant. And then with that, we should be able to blend out of that area. Let's add just a little more titanium white, which will allow that paint to go on smoother. So here it is on our white card. I'd just like to show you a few of these colors that I'm mixing from time to time. So if you put down a color and you don't like it, just wipe it off with your finger or a rag or something. You don't have to go with it just because it's on your canvas. There's a lot of testing with this process, a lot of back and forth. All right. And then we add a little more shading under her nose. And we're going to also darken this right side below her lip area. Now this area right above her cheek has a slightly cooler color, and with that I'm going to add just a bit of raw umber dark. And we're going to cool it down a little bit. Alright, so we mix these two colors together, get a slightly cooler color. We add a little more titanium white. Now you'll see the difference with this on our white card. How that color is a little bit cooler. And we're going to add that right up here just to kind of cool down this area and darken it a little bit. As you apply it, it almost looks grayish. It's just strange how these colors work together. But again, color is all relative. So again, the color looks almost gray as I'm applying it on here. until I smooth it out. But once I smooth it out and get the layer much thinner by brushing it, then it works. Then it blends in and it just adds that little bit of a cooler tone right up there, which is what I'm seeing in the reference photo. Just trying to get these various nuances in the skin tones. Another area where we can do that is right around the eyes, and if we add a little titanium white to this mix, it's going to automatically cool it down, and then we can apply that right below her eye here if the color is right. Now the value is too dark, so it won't work, so I have to lighten it up a little more. More titanium white. Alright, so here it is on the white card. It is quite light, but it is darker than white, obviously. And we can apply this right here over that concentric eyelid fold on her eye and just cool it down a little bit, and that's going to create that sense of, you know, like the little blood vessels that you see around that area. The skin is quite thin in that spot, and if you look at yourself in the mirror, you're probably going to notice that right under your eyes it's a little more of a bluish purple color, because again, your skin is thinner there, there's more blood vessels, and you're seeing that particular aspect colorizing the area. But it does add a lot of realism when you can put that nuance in. You just don't want to overdo it. So it's just a slight nuance to add in there. Alright. So this is looking good here. Now I want to do a little bit of work on her hair at this point. So let's kind of switch gears, and we're going to just do a little bit of work kind of getting the shapes all in order. Like, so for example, I want to use the background color and kind of scoop out just an area that wasn't quite accurate, and you can do that on yours as well if you need to. It might be a little bit of, might be different. Every portrait is different, so the needs on your portrait might be a little bit different than the needs on mine. And right now I do need to kind of scallop that shape out because this is sticking out here in too simplistic of a form. It should have a divot right there. And so I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to take some titanium white, and we'll just kind of blend into that previous color that we were using over the area below her eyes. And I think that should work well, especially if I add just a little raw sienna and warm that up. And now let's go ahead and just kind of cut in. Now I want to move my camera up a little bit. I want you to be able to see this as we apply it. Alright, so this works wonders. I mean, you can really just use the background color and cut in, and I know that seems different than what you're used to. Like if you paint landscapes, usually your foreground always overlaps the background, but in this case you can use the background color to reshape things, and see that just went right over that really nice. And now I can put in a little bit of a divot right here because we're having, you know, the background color shining through right there. All right, we can put in a couple of little areas where the background color is shining through, and we want to make sure that the color is light enough. In fact, I'll show you it on the white card. This is what it is. It's a very light cream color. Look at that. So it's almost white, isn't it? But we're going to use that, and we're going to put in a couple of nuances, allowing the light to be shining through her hair. So I want you to be able to do this on your own. See, just in a few key areas, if you have, now you don't want to just put it anywhere. You've got to look at the reference photo and really place these little dabs where it's appropriate based on that reference photo, and where you have some lighter spots already in the hair. And it's just a nice effect that you can use very sparingly. I can put a couple little dabs in here in this part of her hair, And then we go to the other side and we put in a couple of dabs over here, just being careful not to smear what I've already done. So put in a little dab there, and then there's actually a little thing right there too that I could put in, but maybe I won't because I want to make sure there's room for her ear. I'll just have it be a little different than the reference photo. All right, and now I can do some work and just kind of sculpt the hair on this left-hand side and just really get in some of these little nuances. Here's where you can also kind of cover over your pencil lines a little bit. I often get that question where people ask, how do I get rid of the pencil that's showing through? Well, this is really where you do it in these final stages in the painting process. All right, just kind of going back and forth from the left side to the right, and just again developing some additional little areas of interest. I'm going to go back to this side and develop that a little bit more. Yeah, and that really makes a big difference. It just, I don't know, there's something about it when you take care of some of these edges, it just makes your portrait look more professional. Now we can use the same effect and begin to do work, you know, on the shoulders and kind of get rid of the pencil lines there as well. So we definitely can do that, and I'll be showing you this process too. So we'll work on that a little bit here, just kind of dialing in the shoulders, going over those pencil lines. Let's actually pick a slightly lighter color. Let's grab more titanium white and just add that to this mix. So again, it's going to be almost white, and then we're going to go ahead and just kind of paint over the edge of her clothing. It's one of those last things that we do to really tighten things up, and you're refining your edges. Now you have to be careful because sometimes the colors aren't going to quite match. You know, you might find that it works up here on the top, but then as you get down below, the color's a little bit light. So we might have to switch to a different color for that area down there. So just keep that in mind. But again, we can really go over all these edges here and just kind of refine them. That's okay if the edges are a little bit blurry because, you know, it could be a kind of out of focus as we get to those spots. And then a nice effect too is when you do this, don't just have a line going all the way around, but kind of make the line have some random areas where it flows into the background, and then you won't see just this harsh line going all the way across. So you can kind of fan it out a little bit like that, and that's going to really help just to kind of blend it in there. Just kind of radiate it out a little bit. All right, let's take a look at the other side here. We have a couple areas there we can look at too, and just kind of smooth them out and go over any of the pencil lines and that kind of thing, and tighten it up, clean up those edges. Yeah, so that's good. Kind of tighten up these edges a little bit more. Let's take a little variation of this color here, going into this kind of brownish tint, which will add just a little bit of Indian yellow to it. And this is a color we used before. I can't remember what it was from. I think it was maybe for the paintbrush ferrules. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll just kind of add a little bit of a highlight on her hair here. and have a couple strands of hair that just kind of flow over the top. Now if we get the color right, it's going to look good. So let's take our time, make sure the color's as close as we can. We add a little more Indian yellow to it. I think that's going to help. Let me show it to you on the white card here. There it is. See how yellow that is? But once we add that to this, I think it's going to really work nicely as we take that on top. Because see, if you don't add enough of a warm color to counteract your titanium white, it ends up looking chalky. And the color, the scheme overall is quite warm. We've got the warm color of her hair and the palette, all those different things we need to compensate for. All right. Add a little bit of a highlight here. There we go. All right. And then we can just use this color to blend in, like have a couple thin strands of hair just that kind of flow off the edge. All right, that's good. Okay, so this is where we're at right now. We've accomplished a lot. We've done some work on her eyes, put some nuances on the cheeks and the face, the brushes, the hair, and we're gonna do a part 2 to this lesson number 8. But I want to thank you so much for watching this, and I look forward to sharing with you the last few nuances, the last few details to bring your portrait home, and we'll be able to sign it off. And I want to share with you an opportunity with how you can work with me in the future to continue on in your portrait painting journey. Thank you so much for watching this. I'm looking forward to sharing the next lesson. Like and subscribe, share this video, and I'll see you in the next lesson. God bless.